Tannery.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be doing this and to be sitting here with one of my mentors. She didn't know she was one of my mentors, but she has definitely been one of my mentors in my own teaching and career in my life. She's the founder and executive director of the Mindfulness Center right down the road. If anybody taken classes at the Mindfulness Center? Yes, all right, a few of you. Well, you need to if you haven't already. And she is a health scientist with over 30 years of experience in research, clinical application, and education. She's currently a professor at AU, works on research with NIH. She's been on the faculty in the psychiatry department at Georgetown University Med School. And before that, 15 years as a health scientist specializing in neurotoxicology, environmental illnesses, and yeah, lots more I could say. New book out called, what is it called? In the Flow. So definitely check that out. Check out classes and massage and all kinds of things at the Mindfulness Center. But in our conversations, welcome, Dr. Norris.
Thank you,
by
Tammy.
the way. Yeah, thank you. Let's give her a hand. In our conversations in preparation for this chat and the experience that you'll have, Dr. Norris said something that really stuck out to me. She said, when I was thinking about, kind of giving back in the way that I wanted to give back, I thought, if I started a soup kitchen, it would be in downtown DC. If I started a mindfulness center, it would be in the heart of Bethesda. And in light of the conversation that we had last week, Bethesda Magazine and Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, but Why Aren't We Happy? I thought that was very poignant. And so I kind of wanted to open it up to you to kind of say, why did you start the Mindfulness Center? What is your vision? And I think we'll see a lot of crossovers with our vision. And then to kind of introduce yourself and your work in any other ways.
Well, why did I start the Mindfulness Center? It sort of felt like angels came and grabbed me and dragged me in. I left a very comfortable federal government job, 18 months shy of being eligible for full retirement, much to my mother's horror. I said, if I need to, Mom, I'll go back. So that's the real reason. And I don't often say that, but I figured in a church I could say that. What do I normally tell people? I normally say that I had experienced the power of mindfulness meditation myself and other forms of meditation, and it was so personally transformative. I said at the time, if everybody could do this, it would be an amazing world. And so my mission, the first mission statement, was to bring mindfulness to all dimensions of life, to offer it in schools, to offer it in hospitals, to offer it in prisons, to offer it in the work site, to offer it to families, and now I've done all of those things. So,
well, so we've heard a lot about, it's buzzword, right? It was on, I don't know if we need to turn this down or move it away. Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of buzz around mindfulness. Time Magazine had, last month Time Magazine was on mindfulness, and we're hearing about it in schools, in hospitals. What is mindfulness? What is that?
Well, again, it's a great audience to speak to about this. I often, you've been to some of my classes, I often say there's two types of prayer. There's the type of prayer where we ask for something, and then there's the type of prayer where we listen. It's that type of prayer when you listen. And it's not that you're going to necessarily hear the words, so maybe listening isn't exactly the right word. It's just being with your own experience. It's being present, as they say, in the present moment, but consciously recognizing what sensations are arising. And you can go to a meditation class and they'll focus on what you might be seeing or what you might be hearing. There's even mindfulness practices on tastes and so forth. What's coming out in the literature right now about how it's so profoundly helpful for people with health conditions is paying attention to what you're sensing in the physical body. And it's now standard of care to use mindfulness for the treatment of chronic pain. The CDC, the National Institute of Health, the Department of Veterans Affairs have all suggested and actually put forth that this should be the first line of approach for treatment for people with chronic pain over the use of medications. So we're coming up in the healthcare arena, along with other mind-body practices as well. But So then the question is, well, what is this mindfulness stuff that you're doing that's so profoundly healthy? And the part that's working for people with chronic pain is to paying attention to sensations arising within the body, which might account for why other practices like yoga or Tai Chi and Qigong are also working to heal, because we're paying attention to the body. And so the messages don't come to us as some unexpected sense. They come to us through the senses that we're probably most familiar with. If you're an artist, you'll see it. If you're a musician, you'll hear it. If you're a dancer, you'll feel it. So it's listening. It's really listening. And that's where then something happens in the heart. And then the heart knows. And I write about this in my book, finding your purpose and finding, purpose is out these days. Now everybody's about passion. But anyway, you find your passion.
That's what we're trying to do here at St. John's, is find that purpose and passion for our organization, But I think on a personal level also.
So that's what happens to you when you, how many of you have spent time meditating? Lovely. Lovely. So and how many of you have gone to a formal practice where you've been taught, like MBSR or mindfulness meditation, something like that? Wow, beautiful. The difference, because that means you're all doing what's best for you, is exploring. It doesn't need to be taught to you. That's wonderful.
My first exposure to mindfulness was through a centering prayer workshop. So anybody been to centering prayer, either here at St. John's or somewhere else? Yeah. So lots of similarities between mindfulness. So can we jump in and experience?
Would you like to do that?
That'd be okay.
All right. Well, if you'd like to, then I suggest you make yourself comfortable as you can in your chairs. They're pretty nice chairs. And notice what happens when you think about making yourself comfortable. That's the first step. Can you hear me okay? That's in the back. Can you hear me? All right. Making yourself physically comfortable is the first step in directing your conscious awareness inside the body. Yeah? Because you suddenly paid attention. How my back? Oh, my legs were a little tight. Yeah? So we're coming into experiencing within. Now, I invite you to close your eyes because it's easier to do it with your eyes closed, and they've even done research studies on this and found that your brain shifts into a different brain wavelength when you close your eyes. But you're welcome to keep them open, whatever works for you. Open and close them, or just let them rest. And one of the easiest things to begin to focus on is your breath. There's an internal phenomenon that keeps changing, it keeps moving, keeps flowing. And it's something that you can be aware of. It's very simple. It's very easy, actually. And if we're going to create ease, we want it to be easy. So what could be easier than watching yourself breathe? And there's, of course, the inhale and the exhale. And there's the sensation of the breath at the nostrils, the back of the mouth, the throat. Cooler when it flows in, and it's warmed as it flows out. And there's the movement of the breath as it moves through your body. Moving your chest, moving your shoulders perhaps, your back, your ribs. So the first thing we do is we settle the mind down. When we come into the practice, the mind has a certain momentum to it. And that's even something you might bear witness to, the mind. It's so popularly busy that we've named it, we call it the monkey mind, but whatever it feels like for you, come to the sensation of the mind itself. We usually just pay attention to the content of the thoughts, but there's actually a sensation to the mind thinking. That sensation, you feel it in your head. If I said, look and see if you feel that sensation in your left knee, you'd get there and you're like, nah, not much thinking going on there. It's really happening up in the head. So what is that sensation behind the thoughts? It's kinetic energy moving, it's momentum. And that will shift. That will shift. It's like running on a treadmill really fast and suddenly stepping off. You still have that feeling of forward momentum. But if you just stand there, it will dissipate. There's many things in the world, as I mentioned, to sense: the mind, the breath, the soft noises around us. What it's like to have your eyes closed and rest. What it's like to be given permission to just rest right now. Middle of the morning, nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just allowed to be. You can imagine in high schools when I say that, that's one of the most profound things, that the students are just allowed to be. And even though the world goes on around us, children are playing and people coming and going, we're allowed to just be. That's the reality of the world. It keeps moving. We grant ourselves permission to be still. We grant ourselves permission for the mind to shift its momentum, rather than engaging in the content of the thoughts. Letting go of intention, effort, trying, and just being. Bearing witness, like you would if you were sitting outside, simply watching the breeze blow through the trees and the clouds drift across the sky. Permission to just be. Take several nice deep breaths and feel the sensation, another dimension of the breath to observe. The sensation of the inhale and the exhale. As you inspire and expire. There's a reason for the two meanings of the word to inspire, meaning both to receive the breath and to receive creative energy that flows in. Indeed, when you inspire, you do not intend to inspire. You become inspired. You receive inspiration. Feel that as you open yourself up and let the breath come in. Let the inspiration flow in, that sensation of receiving, just like that. And the sensation at the very top of the breath, the pinnacle of the breath, when the incoming air begins to encounter the outflowing air, and you begin again to expire. Let the breath out. And the sensation of expiring, what it feels like to expire, to let the breath go. It's complete surrender. If we're opening ourselves to receive inspiration, then we're equally open to let it go. Succumb. There's a sense of trust in there. There's a sense of trust in being willing to let go of the breath. A sense of faith that if you, let it go, it will once again be delivered to you. And there's a sense of ease in that letting go. Indeed, it's such a profound sensation that in our culture, we don't have many names or words for breathing. We have yawns, exhales, and inhales, not much more. But we've named that particular exhale that's so profound. We call it the sigh of relief. You can empathize with that when you hear someone else make that sound. You can also feel it in your own body, that sense of, It's safe just now. Go ahead and explore. Give it a go. What's it like to completely abandon the breath and give it away? Let it be drawn from you. Enjoy that experience of trust, of faith that when you let go, it will be delivered. Because in letting go, you make room to again receive. It comes again. And it's such a simple metaphor. When you know those sensations of receiving and letting go, you'll find that that search image that's there in your breath provides for you in the rest of your life. You'll find yourself receiving and letting go. And that's the flow. And this is just a taste to get you started. You might have hints of it come to you. You might struggle. You might seem foreign. Resistance is often the first thing that comes up when we get started. So any level of that is okay. Just know that with practice, like when you go to the gym and work out and you lift weights, you take the resistance, you work against resistance, and what happens? You get stronger. And the same thing with these mental practices that change the brain. You breathe through the resistance, you exhale, you let go, and do it again. And notice that moment, that very instant at the bottom of the breath, the zenith of the breath, as you've let the exhale be surrendered. And the outflowing air begins to encounter the inflowing air, and once again you begin to receive, to become inspired. Every breath gives you an opportunity to receive and let go. Just like that. There's so much in our sensory awareness we're able to take in or block. It's enough. I've been to many meditation trainings where they focus on opening the heart. Yoga classes have heart-opening exercises. I came to wonder, why do we have to focus so much on opening the heart? Why would we have the capacity to close the heart in the first place? It's actually adaptive. I used to do EEG. When you open your heart, and EKG, we'd put electrodes on the brain and the heart. When you open your heart, and go ahead and let your eyes close and feel that sensation of opening your heart. There's an actual shift in the electromagnetic fields that emanate from your heart. And you put two people in a room together, and they come in, and initially we put the EKG on, and their hearts are all over the place, different. And then something happens. They begin to become synchronized. They begin to become harmonized. They begin to move in rhythm with each other. We call that entrainment. It happens with the brain as well. And yes, it happens in a room full of people. When a group comes together, the entire room, if we had EKG on all of us, the hearts begin to entrain. They begin to become synchronized with each other. Now, how's that for community? Sense that. Some animals are more sensitive to this sense than others. And since we don't have a language in our culture for this particular phenomenon, this electromagnetic field that emanates from our bodies, our hearts, our brains, that I've spent so much time measuring and studying, we don't have a language around it. But we do. What do we say? We say, I love you with all my heart. We say, I really felt that in my heart. We say our hearts are broken. We say, I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my gut. So we do have a language. We do have a consciousness and awareness of the sensations arising from the heart. Breathe into that. Open your consciousness just now. What's it like to sense the heart of the person next to you? What's it like to let your heart's energy be out there so that the people next to you can sense it? So I'll let you play with that for a moment, and I'll go on talking. You can either focus on your heart or listen to my words, your choice. So back to the question, why would we ever draw our heart's energy in? Well, let's take the cat and the mouse. The cat wants to eat the mouse. The mouse has a nice big heart for its little size, but it also does not want to be eaten. Now, the cat has a very keen sense for the mouse's heart. So what does the mouse do when it senses the cat? It draws its heart energy in. It freezes. It isolates itself from the cat and the rest of the world. It draws that energy in tight. It's a very lonely place. It's a very non-sensing place. It feels numb, it feels dead, it feels very alone. But it's safe for the moment as it freezes there until the cat passes by. Once the cat passes by or the mouse is able to scamper to safety, then its heart opens back up again, and it is safe. Hence, we love safety as a people, as creatures. We love safety. So that's why we might close our hearts when we're scared, when we're frightened, when we've suffered trauma, when we're stressed. We have an instinct we're not even aware of, but you've felt it if you've ever felt alone, if you've ever felt that pressure, that heaviness in your heart, if you've ever had that ache where it wanted to open and touch other people. We felt that sensation. We just don't have a language around it yet. You do now. So that sensation of the heart closing, it's fair. It's adaptive. It serves us a function. And now that we understand why we can close our hearts, then we can understand, well, I can close it, but I also have the potential to open it. And what happens with practice is you learn to do this. And you recognize this as a sign. When the heart clenches tight, something's wrong. You look around, you check it out, you see if you're safe. It's a sign. If you walk around with your heart closed all the time, you can't tell. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's safe, maybe it's not. I just always feel scared. But when you recognize that and you work on it, just like going to the gym, you build a muscle. Well, when you work on this, you build the heart's muscle. And you learn to open it. You feel that sensation when it connects with somebody. It's like, oh, there, that feels good. I think that's what love at first sight is. You'll like the energy of the other person's heart. That's a good one. I like that. So it's okay if you like the heart energy coming from your left or your right or the front or the back a little better. That's okay. This is guidance. And where's the most important place to feel that? Do this exercise. And I'd say about half of you in the audience are on board with this and the other half are, what is she talking about? I like to feel it, but I don't. And that's what I find. That's okay. Keep practicing. So, do this for yourself. Just imagine it. Imagination is sending energy where it may or may not have ever been before. Every phenomenal thing that we humans have created, the subway, towers, was first imagined. Computers. We imagined them first. We sent energy there. So imagine your heart growing bigger. And imagine what it loves is itself. And the first thing it senses is itself getting bigger. It's fair. Because when your heart grows at noticing itself, then it knows how to grow noticing others. In my practice, it is okay to love yourself with this true, genuine, heart-opening experience. Because when you can open your heart and walk through the world and let that guide you, and let other people sense that, you open their hearts too. They entrain with you, and their hearts open. So breathe into that. Let your imagination flow. It's safe because you can always come back. You can always go, oh, that was hogwash. But you can explore it. You're like, what if that was a thing? What if there was something in there? And maybe if it doesn't quite fit you, or it does, but tweak it. Tweak it until it fits you. That's really, don't let me be your teacher. Let your heart be your teacher. Your whole body, if you will. Let your consciousness be your teacher. I'm limited to what I have got. You've got something else. Let that be your teacher. Let this openness that you're willing to explore just now invite you to a deeper consciousness, a deeper awareness. And as you practice this is just today's taste. As you practice this, as most of you raised your hand and do, notice what arises for you. I don't know what sense it will come as, and we only speak of really 5 senses in our culture, and there's so much more as we've done. We've sensed the heart. Gravity's a fun one. Sense gravity. What does that feel like to sense gravity? You know, we're able to tune things out. We tune out white noise. And yet, when you attend to it, you can hear little background noises. You're like, oh yeah, they're there. I just wasn't paying any attention to it. The sounds. We do that all the time with gravity because it is always there. Unless you're an astronaut. The sensation of gravity is always there. But there's a feeling to it. Astronauts who've gone into outer space say it feels different. I've gone to the 75th floor of a skyscraper. It feels different. What is the feeling of gravity that we take for granted, that we tune out? A sensation of knowing which way's up and which way's down? A sensation of balance. Ever longed for balance in your life? Oh, I just need more balance. It's right there. We've just tuned it out. Ever longed for a sensation of centeredness, groundedness, connectedness? These are all the sensations of gravity. Let your body just drop right now. Just stop trying and just let it drop. Let it sink. Feel that? It goes down. Guaranteed. The more you let go, the deeper it goes. And the deeper it goes, the more you're invited to let go. That sense of connectedness, that sense of being held. Once again, that sense of trust. You can trust that if when you drop into bed at night, you're going to sink into that mattress. It's going to hold you all night long. Just like that. Let go. So we long for these sensations, someone to hold us, feeling of connectedness, a feeling of balance in life. And it's right there. Isn't that what we're told? That everything we seek is available to us. The gifts are there. We just want to open our consciousness to it. Look at how much is available in gravity. The earth is truly the perfect mother, always there letting us take her for granted, holding us, and yet giving us the freedom to move as we choose. So there's many senses that may arise for you. These are just but a few. Explore what comes up for you in your own practice. And I invite you to press the palms of your hands together in front of your heart and feel how you hold in the palms of your hands the light of your heart and the power to choose what to do with that light. Whether to hold it close and protect it, and that's fair that we do so, or whether to open your heart and let the light of your heart reach out and touch others and be touched by others. That is a choice you hold in the palms of your own hands. And recognizing that the light within you is the same as the light within me and within each and every one of us. That is a place you can go in your prayers. Namaste. Thank you.
So opening our eyes, becoming more aware.
As you open your eyes, do take a moment and check in with your eyes open. Now that the eyes are open, this always happens, there's a little rustle. Something different, something comes in.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. I'm looking at politics, but don't go there right now. But a little rustle. What happens in the body? Keep your consciousness present. Anybody have anything worth sharing? Because anybody have busy mind for most of the time?
Busy mind, looping mind, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't have busy mind. Not some of you did, some of you didn't. Anybody almost fall asleep? Happens on a cloudy day. It's easier. Anybody have a sensation you've never had before? Anybody have a sensation you'd like to have again? A lot of that. All right. And I'd love to know more details.
Yeah. So we're going to pass the mic around, and in the context of having more healthy and holistic relationships, maybe reflect on or ask questions around how mindfulness practices can help us have more healthy and holistic relationships, both with ourselves, with those in our community, right here, our families, and maybe even in the wider community. So if you have reflections from your own experience or questions or ideas around that, this is kind of like a blue sky place where we can reflect on our experience and also maybe start to kind of dream and imagine around the experience. I'll share from my experience. Christianity and faith-based, or my faith, provides this kind of like structure for what I want my life to look like and what I want to do in the world. But I often, Sari and I have had this discussion, often have this kind of disconnect between what I want and how, right? What are the practices that will actually lead me there, right? It's like, yes, I want to love everyone, but I don't feel that right now, right? I don't like that person, and I don't love that person, and I don't love my tantruming 3-year-old, you know what I mean? And so the practices of mindfulness have been the how for me, have been the tools in my toolbox to go from the place where I am to slowly practice a different way and open my brain in different ways and open my heart in different ways. And slowly, slowly, I start to realize like, oh, my heart is open to that person that it would have been close to. I have wisdom and compassion in a way that I didn't have, a year ago, 2 years ago, or whatever. So if nobody wants to share, that's completely fine. We can just kind of let it be and we can ask more questions. But I'd love to open it up if anybody has any reflections, questions, imaginations.
Good morning. Thank you so much, ladies. A question or just a comment, I guess, is I feel like you can bring mindfulness to everything, whether it's walking or yoga or doing the dishes. How do you be mindful in conversations? And how do you listen better, if you will? I think that's part of what relationships break down from.
So if you go to the gym and you start lifting weights and you keep doing this as a regular practice, what happens? You become strong. So you're strong in a conversation. You're strong when you go to take something off the shelf. You're strong when you go to lift a toddler up. You just are strong. You practice mindfulness, you become mindful. You don't have to think about it, you just are mindful. It literally changes the structure of your brain. This is neuroscientist. We're literally finding that nucleus accumbens and the anterior cingulate cortex grow, have more blood flow to those parts of the brain. So it literally changes. You're building the muscles in your brain that are the mindfulness muscles.
I find also that the space between, input and output, becomes bigger with mindfulness practice, right? So I have a woman come to me after a class, I didn't like that you did this, and I immediately feel that defensiveness rise in me. That is just natural. It's the mouse going into the corner, right? I'm like, oh, don't be mean. And then that space between, I'm able to take a deep breath into that, notice my heart clenching, notice my belly clenching, and then mirror those mirror neurons of that's hard for you. I'm sorry that was hard for you, right?
What's courage?
What's courage?
What's courage? We just did a little exercise on the heart. And so fear, trauma is the heart pulling in. Love is the heart opening up. Oh, I got to tell you a story about my 7-year-old son. May I do this?
Yes.
He was 7 years old, and I had kissed him goodnight, and I was leaving the room. I was in the doorway when he said, I love you, Mommy. And I turned And being me, I said, "What does that feel like?" And there was a long pause. I thought, well, maybe he's fallen back to sleep. And then he mumbled, "It feels like my heart's getting bigger." Out of the mouths of babes, he was able to go in and took me earnestly and was like, "Okay, there's going to be a feeling with this. What is it?" And then he goes, "Oh, I feel like my heart's getting bigger." So it's a real sensation. What's the sensation of courage? Keeping the heart open in the face of danger. So yes, danger can tempt us to draw it in, but courage is keeping it open. Why would we want to do that? So it can continue to guide us. So we can continue to be guided by our heart, even though we have to move through a place of danger. And what, my Latin experts, what's the root word for the word courage? Out loud. Heart. Somebody else knew that. I didn't make that up.
Beautiful.
Dr. Norris, I have a question. This is slightly more cerebral than where we are right now. But my curiosity is, you've spent a long time in Bethesda doing mindfulness practices with people in this community. You've heard stories. You've seen transformations happen in people's lives. Are there any specific things that you have come to experience or become aware of that people in a community like Bethesda Chevy Chase tend to be worried more about than other things? Where's mindfulness? I recognize that there are different types of people and everyone brings their own thing, but are there any generalities of struggles or stresses or in areas where there is a desire for greater wholeness and health that people tend to take the mindfulness practices and really apply, just to help us understand our community a little more?
In terms of our community, anything that I would say would be correlational, because I don't have data specifically saying that's the problem. And so please take it as just a correlation, which means a bit of doubt. I do tend to think of them, and when I'm dealing with them hand-to-hand combat, as diseases of affluence and also diseases of intellect. We believe in using the head, not the heart. So to get us back down into the heart is part of the effort. And the Mindfulness Center is on the intersection of Arlington and Elm Street, a really busy intersection. I say we will know that we've been successful by counting the beeping going on right outside our windows all the time. When that beeping goes down, we will have succeeded, because the horn blowing just, I mean, this is not like the Jamaican horn blowing where they're like, "Hi, I'm here." You know, I try to interpret the beep like, "Hi, I'm here, I exist."
Not in
It's
Bethesda.
really not happening for me. Courage, Debbie, courage. But no, that's not what that beep means. So that's my measure. But what can we each do? Even if you don't stay on this committee, even if you just go home and that's it, you can practice opening your own heart, because other people will entrain with that. As you hold that space, other people will learn to hold it. People in your family immediately will have this phenomenon. People in your community, as you sit here right now, you're helping each other. You can feel it. That's why you like to come in here, because you feel it. It happens in this space. So can you help me to be, I want to stay on target with the agenda here.
Helpful. Do you have a follow-up question to that? That's really
Diseases of affluence and diseases of intellect.
a little more about that particular thing. That was really fascinating.
Which ones?
Diseases of affluence
Yes.
and intellect.
Yes, well, I don't want to get too bitter on affluence and abundance. If I were to do the what's in, what's out, abundance is out, simplicity is in, you know, especially in my own life. Diseases of affluence. What are our priorities? You know, there's a story about a gentleman, and he's fishing, and he catches enough fish to feed his family, and he's getting up to go in home, and somebody comes up and says, "You know, you really have good luck as a fisherman. It would serve you if you got a boat and you could go out, you could catch a whole lot of fish, and then you could sell them." And then if you did that, you'd make a lot of money. You could get a whole fleet of boats. And then you'd have a whole lot of money. And think of what you could do with all that. You could buy many. You could build a bigger house and so on and so forth. And he goes, why would I want to put all my trouble into this and having to pay attention to boats and hiring people, and boats might sink and so forth, when I can catch everything I need in a few minutes fishing and take it home and feed my family, and we're all happy. And if I had fleets of boat, I'd be spending my day not with my family, but out tending the boats and so forth. And I think we're out tending the boats. We've forgotten what we just need to keep our family happy. We're juggling all these fleets of ships and catching more fish than we know what to do with, so we got to sell them, and we've forgotten our family back home. So that's what I would say to that.
Hi. Maybe if you could explore a little bit more the relationship between mindfulness and feeling the presence of God, because to me, I guess mindfulness and meditation was a way to find connection to God, because for a long time I was very disconnected, and I would go to different churches and just, would not be for me. And then through meditation and to be in touch with myself and learning about myself, I felt that. I felt a connection to God and more connected to others.
And what did that feel like when you felt that connection?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's like, it's changed your life, changed the way you see things and the way you relate to others.
Where did you feel it? Where? What sense did it come in to you through?
To my heart.
You felt it in your heart.
Yes.
And where is God? Point.
I think a year or so ago, 1.5 years ago.
Where? Where is God? Where?
Oh, where is God? To me, it's, I don't know, everywhere. I feel like God presence in me, in myself.
It's in you?
Yes.
And it's everywhere.
In everywhere.
So it's right there. It's like gravity. It's everywhere. It's right there, but for opening our awareness to God. It's right there. So in that quiet space, the brain is up there. Thank goodness we have these amazing brains, because look at what we've done at NIH and all these organizations here in Washington, D.C. The intellectual abundance is phenomenal here in Washington. So we've got these great brains, but they come up with their own ideas. We're going to slow it down and see what comes in through the heart and other parts of the body. We can feel things with our hands. We have gut feelings and so forth. It just kind of comes into your consciousness. You know it. Well, we want to spend some little time. Stop asking, stop intending, stop trying, and just spend a little time being. And that's what we do in meditation. And I don't, we are secular at the Mindfulness Center. I don't speak to do this to find God, though that's what happens. I don't have to. That's
I
what
will
happens.
affirm, I have had a similar experience that I felt very disconnected from God, basically because of baggage of my growing up experience. And then through mindfulness meditation, it was like I reconnected to whatever that is, that sense, that felt sense of God, not thinking about God and philosophizing or theologizing or learning about what I should be doing to make God happy, but that felt sense of whatever, universe, wholeness, heart, that you really kind of deeply sense as God. So
what do you do when you're trying to make a decision? You think about it. You think about this option, you think about that option, and people can get so caught up in thinking about it that it becomes obsessive compulsive or ADHD or brain fog and so forth, because we're thinking about it. And that's not working. So what happens if you stop thinking about it and start feeling about it and wait for the instructions to come in, the guidance, the flow, that sense of purpose, that sense of passion? Thinking gets in the way of passion. So just in mindfulness, just before we opened, I was floating down a river on a raft. It took almost 4 hours. I said I should have called it the Mindlessness Center. Because I just let all the thinking stop. And when we let the thinking stop, then we start feeling. And those feelings are guidance too.
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you for being here. More pointedly, and I apologize for it, and maybe this is being over-intellectualizing it, what can we do to improve our community being mindful? That is the product of mindful practice. I've heard you say if we exhibit it, it'll have, be contagious. That'd be potentially one thing. We could get all BCC residents to go through mindfulness practice. That could potentially achieve it. What are concrete things that we could actually do to improve the community being the product that is mindful?
First, trust that when you know your mission and you've got a vision, if you know your mission, you will achieve it. First, trust that. That creates the pathway to success. Then, feel it. What would it be like to achieve that mission? What is the mission? I don't have it in front of me.
Terry?
To be here to
Crossroads of faith and life.
community.
A mission and a vision. The mission is building community at the crossroads of faith and life.
Building community
At the crossroads of faith.
at the crossroads of faith and life. And I take that a little bit at a time, and I've got a few more minutes just. Building community. So what is that? Does that mean when you walk down the street, like, we got a place way out in the country, I can't drive down a street without, if I pass somebody, we're waving at each other. Remember those days? Remember? Now you walk by somebody, and it's like this. And it's like, you didn't notice me, did you? No, I didn't notice you.
They wave with one finger.
You're right. The one that pushes the horn.
Right.
The one that beats the horn, right? That we would be, not only would we look up, but we would feel safe to look up. We would say hello. That we would hold the door, that we would wait while somebody cuts in front of us. Because we're not in that much of a hurry. Might be somebody you know. Might be somebody you don't know. What does it feel like? What would it feel like to have achieved that mission? To have a sense of community at the crossroads of faith and life. Whose life? Your life. Whose faith? Your faith? Any faith? Faith. Having faith. Those other people of other religions, they have faith. So what would it feel like to have that? That's your vision. If you can feel that, you'll get there. That's what mindfulness would say.
I think we should close with a moment of feeling that, if that would be okay. So maybe a minute and a half.
Could I ask 3 people to share what that would feel like?
Okay, yeah.
Who would share with me what that would feel like for you? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm a teacher in a public school that's high poverty, and I was just thinking about how I think about my students and all the struggles that they have with not doing their work, and we feed them breakfast in first period because they don't even eat breakfast at home, and some of them only get food at breakfast and lunch at school, and I can't get them to do their work, and it's very frustrating. And I thought, well, what if I applied, instead of this as an intellectual problem, that I've got to get these kids to do their work and behave in class? What if I thought about it as a love problem? What if I thought about these kids in my class not as a problem to be fixed, which is the way I've been thinking about them, but a problem to be loved? And if I could go into the classroom tomorrow with that attitude, instead of, oh my gosh, here's a whole nother set of kids that I've got to get to behave and do their work, if that would change just my feeling about teaching.
Thank you. And what do you feel when you feel that?
Much more hope.
That it's a solution of love.
Yes. And I have not thought about them like in 21 years of teaching.
As a solution of love.
Yes.
I bet you're going to get so much love when you walk in.
I hope I can do it. Now I just have to think about the how.
No, just do it.
Feel
One
it.
day. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. Would somebody else be willing to share what you feel when you feel the solution? Thank you. Yes, the woman several rows back.
I'd say, is this working? Okay. I'd say that I have this feeling of opening my heart, which was advised to me many years ago when I was single and having a lot of the kind of experiences you were describing about God's love and love in general. And someone said, open your heart. And a person who was teaching consciousness and those kind of things, open your heart chakra is what was said. Yeah. And my image for that, what was helpful for me that I wanted to share, was that there are many, many pictures of Jesus with his heart showing as he's there helping people, reaching out to people. And because I could not even imagine how to open my heart, I began to use that image within myself of my heart being visible. And it worked. I mean, I have that feeling multiple times, and I certainly don't have it whenever I'm shopping in Bethesda, but I try to make it happen. I try to be friendly and to smile and to think, if I have the inspiration, that my heart is open. And I think what Bethesda would be like if we had this, if we achieved this, would be for our hearts to be open and to entrain, is that the word you use? Yeah. With people as we interact with them in our commercial setting. What I found offensive, but what did they call us? The economic engine for Montgomery County, which I don't particularly like to think of us as. But we can also be an engine of love and connection.
An engine of love. Write that down.
Engine of love. So we have to
you
end.
You can stop trying because your heart is wide open.
It is wide open. We have to end, but can we take 3 breaths, close our eyes and just take 3 breaths where we imagine not only our hearts opening up to those around us, but we even imagine the community of St. John's with that kind of blazing, wide open heart of Jesus. And we think about maybe Bethesda as the body and the heart being St. John's and places like the Mindfulness Center. So not thinking about it, but just feeling into that sense of open heart for ourselves. So take a deep breath for yourself. And then for us as a community, that we will be that open-hearted presence in our community. And then in my yoga classes, I end with Om, but in church, we can end with Amen. So take a deep breath in and blow all your air out. And then inhale for Amen. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Dr. Norris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.